In Alabama, there's a legend that it's illegal to wear a fake mustache in church if it makes people laugh. And believe it or not, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to America's history of strange rules. The United States is a massive patchwork of cultures and histories, and that's led to some seriously strange rules over the years. We're not just talking about social quirks, we're talking about actual laws that are technically still on the books. At the same time, Americans have everyday habits that can leave visitors from other countries genuinely baffled. Today, we're going through some of America's stranger laws and habits, and the interesting stories behind them. Our first stop is in Gainesville, Georgia, which proudly calls itself the poultry capital of the world. Back in 1961, the city passed a law making it illegal to eat fried chicken with a fork. It sounds extreme, but it was really just a publicity stunt to promote the local chicken industry. It's only been enforced a handful of times as a joke, most famously on a 91-year-old visitor from Louisiana. Today, it's mostly seen as a fun local quirk rather than a serious ordinance. Next, let's talk about something that confuses just about every non American: tipping. In many countries, tipping is optional or a service charge is already included. In the United States, it's often expected. Many restaurant servers earn a lower base wage because tips are intended to make up the difference. For visitors, every meal can feel like a small lesson in both math and social etiquette. From social customs to strict rules of the road. If you find yourself in the city of Galesburg, Illinois, you might want to keep both feet firmly planted on your bicycle pedals. Under a city ordinance, it is strictly illegal to engage in any fancy riding on a public street. The law requires riders to keep at least one hand on the handlebars and one foot on the pedals. Removing both hands or both feet is prohibited. That means no hands-free riding, no standing on the frame, and no performing tricks in the street. It was passed decades ago as a straightforward public safety measure to stop reckless cycling. Up to Alaska now. While it's a myth that it's illegal to get a moose drunk there, the state does have a very real, highly specific regulation about how you can interact with them. Under Alaska Department of Fish and Game rules, using a drone to scout big game at any point before a hunt is flatly prohibited. Alaska also has a broader same-day airborne rule. If you've been in any non-commercial aircraft, you must wait until 3 a.m. the next day before hunting. The law exists to protect fair chase principles and keep the playing field level. Here's one that surprises a lot of visitors: the American public restroom stall. The gaps on the sides and bottom of the doors are noticeable, and to many people from other countries, genuinely puzzling. Americans tend to accept the occasional awkward eye contact as just part of the experience. The design is generally attributed to practical reasons: easier cleaning, safety, and the discouraging illegal activity. The Hoover Dam is one of America's most recognized engineering landmarks, but its scale is genuinely hard to wrap your head around. It contains enough concrete to build a 2-lane highway from San Francisco to New York City. Built during the Great Depression, it's one of those projects that says something real about American ambition and its long-standing tendency to go big. Down to Maryland, where they have a very real law that might make you think twice about how you express your frustrations. In the city of Rockville, it is officially illegal to swear or use profanity on any street, highway, or sidewalk where you might be heard by a passerby. If you stub your toe on the sidewalk and let a bad word slip too loudly, it's technically a misdemeanor that can carry a fine and even the possibility of jail time. The rules traces back to old public peace ordinances from another era, and while police aren't out patrolling for stray curse words, it sticks around as a piece of Maryland history that tends to catch visitors off guard. Here's a habit that reads as friendly in one culture and intrusive in another: talking to strangers. In many parts of the US, it's completely normal to strike up a conversation with someone in a grocery store line or a park. Americans generally see it as being sociable. Visitors from cultures where that kind of interaction is unusual can find it surprisingly personal, sometimes uncomfortably so. Another restaurant habit worth noting: free refills and takeout boxes. In most of the world, you pay for each drink, and taking food home isn't standard practice. In America, bottomless sodas are fairly routine, and asking for a box to take home the half of your oversized meal you couldn't finish is practically expected. It's a culture of abundance that regularly catches visitors off guard. Massachusetts has a law banning the manufacture, sale, or knowing use of exploding golf balls, and possession with intent to sell is also illegal. Yes, exploding. The state had to outlaw novelty golf balls packed with explosive charges because they were causing injuries and property damage. It's one of those laws that sounds like a joke until you realize someone clearly tried it. Now for a myth that refuses to die: the claim that in Connecticut, a pickle must bounce to be legally considered a pickle. There's no such law. The story traces back to 1948, when two pickle packers were arrested for selling spoiled product. A Food and Drug official commented that a proper pickle should bounce when dropped, and the press ran with it. The legal myth has been bouncing around ever since. Shoes inside the house is another habit that often surprises visitors. While many American families ask guests to remove their shoes, plenty don't. In some homes, people walk straight from the driveway onto the carpet without thinking twice about it. In many other countries, that would be considered rude or unhygienic. It's one of those everyday differences that Americans often don't notice until someone points it out. Over to Philadelphia and the Liberty Bell. Many people notice that Pennsylvania is spelled with only one N on the bell and assume it's a historic typo. It isn't. When the bell was cast in the 1750s, spelling hadn't been standardized the way it is today. Pennsylvania, with one N, was a recognized alternative spelling at the time. Sales tax is another consistent source of confusion for visitors. In most countries, the price on the tag is the final price. In the US, sales tax is added at the register and varies by state and locality. That $10 item might ring up at $10.75 or higher. To show how far personal behavior laws can go, Clark County, Nevada, which governs the Las Vegas Strip, passed a law making it a crime to simply stop moving on certain sidewalks. Under their pedestrian flow zone ordinance, it is a misdemeanor to stop or stand on any of the elevated pedestrian bridges crossing the Las Vegas Strip. The rule was created to keep the massive crowds flowing, but the wording is so strict that taking a breather, waiting for a friend, or standing still to look at the casino lights can technically get you hit with a $1,000 fine or up to 6 months in jail. In Quitman, Georgia, an old ordinance makes it illegal for a chicken to cross the road. And no, this one isn't inspired by the joke. It's a practical livestock regulation requiring owners to keep their animals contained in our public streets. Now, for possibly the most committed weird law in the country. In Skamania County, Washington, it is illegal to kill Bigfoot. The ordinance was passed in 1969, originally classifying a Bigfoot killing as a felony. It was later amended in 1984 to reduce the penalty to a gross misdemeanor, carrying up to a $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail, while officially designating the creature as an endangered species. From protecting Bigfoot and debunking Bouncy Pickles, America's legal and cultural landscape covers a lot of unusual ground. These old rules and everyday habits are more than just trivia. They're reflections of local concerns, echoes of history, and the small details that give a place its character. Behind the monuments and grand national narrative, there's a country built on 1,000 smaller, stranger, and often more interesting stories. What's the weirdest law or habit from your hometown or somewhere you visited? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this one, give it a like and subscribe for more looks at the stranger corners of our world. Thanks for watching.